All right, guys, appreciate the time today. As always, it's great to talk about product. It's great to talk about sales ideas, but if you don't know how to illustrate it, you don't know how to sell it, to be quite frank. So, what I felt would be a good time to check our six,
Hello, this is Angela.
check the opportunities to, understand how to illustrate. What we're going to do today is we're going to show you some tips and tricks. Now, a lot of people might come from different areas where they have to run all their illustrations from all the different carriers. Or they might have one bell cow carrier, and then if that bell cow carrier doesn't give you the offer you're looking for, then it's like, oh shoot, who do I go to now? So what we want to take advantage of is this multi-carrier space, the opportunity to run several carriers at your fingertips, run opportunities to help you with your clientele. I will also share with you some things that I've been working on that might make it a little more advantageous for you as you go down this path. As you guys know, we here at Valor Financial, we rent out or utilize 3Mark to deliver some services. Okay. They help us with case management, underwriting, the whole nine yards. But on their platform, they do have quoting systems. So if you are a person who has a client who likes to spreadsheet, okay, here's the carrier I think you like. Well, they're like, well, I saw that online for cheaper. You can fact check them by actually going into a term quote platform right here, go to the iPipeline and hit launch now. And you can fill in the details. I'm not going to go through this today. This is all pretty self-explanatory. And you can add in your term length, duration, up to three face amounts, health class, all that stuff, and you can fact check them. But really great tool for basic things like term insurance for those who are more of a price conscious versus value. If you want living benefit companies, this will show you living benefit companies too. So the QOL Flex Term, North American. You also have Columbus and National Life Group are all on this as well. They're just going to be lower on the chart if you're doing term insurance. So, what I use this for is to just get a general ballpark idea. And a lot of times, what I'll do after that is I will go into this tab under here under quotes and then go to WinFlex Web. So WinFlex Web is where basically they are a multi-carrier tool. This product has not changed in the last 20 years. Um, and so it is one of those it's one of those things where, I know it like the back of my hand. So it's very easy to talk about. But what WinFlex does is it takes, let's say every carrier has a plugin, right? So it's plugging all of the carriers' products into this software to allow you the opportunity to run all of them if you want to, some of them. But it gives you an idea of competitively speaking where carriers lie in one place. Okay. Um, if I click on here, so start a new case, you'll see I have several carriers in here already. Now, you'll notice one thing here is, we have American General, which has the selected term. It does not have the QOL flex term in it. Okay. On the initial stock one, you won't see it. So if you are new, to this organization and you want to get the QOL product, what I need from you is the following. I need your 6-digit code that they give you for approval. And then up in your profile, so top right hand corner, click on profile, and you have a username. So you'll have a username and an email address that's connected with this quotes WinFlex tab that's through our 3Mark portal, and I would report that directly to CoreBridge and get you your version of QoL in your WinFlex instance. Okay, so a little bit of work for the QoL. Everybody else, I should back up and go back to this profile page. If there are other companies that you have but are not in your instance of WinFlex, they're usually in here and add companies. So for example's sake, if I wanted to add Mass Mutual, just regular Mass Mutual, maybe Mutual of Omaha, I've done this example several times, so a lot of the carriers are already in there. You would just check the boxes, and then in the right-hand corner, you see the word place request. I would click on that, and I would place the request, and it would go out to the carrier, and they have the ability to say yay or nay. And so if they say nay, we just send it into the home office and have them override it, and you'll get it within 24 hours. So this is where you could update your system to have multiple carriers in one spot. But what I'll say here is that this is a great multi-carrier tool to help you get through illustrating, looking at different carriers, how you want to proceed. Some carriers are a little more nuanced than others. There are little tricks of the trade as you go along. So I'm going to back out for 1 sec of this instance of WinFlex because I have my own from, I've had it for like 18 years. So I have a few more carriers inside of it. So I'm just going to jump into that one. Don't take my password. All right, illustrations. So we're going to pile into this illustrations here. So you'll see I have a whole slew of them. And I have like several versions of AIG from when I was there, including the QOL product. So we'll do real simple first. Let's say, we wanted to do term. So the flex term is there, and I'll just say Phil Resch. We'll just say, well, by their standards now, I am 45, so 12/22/1981. And I'm gonna pretend I'm a standard non-tobacco today. Uh, no one laugh. I'm just uh I'm just gonna do my thing here. I'm gonna mute everybody too. All right. So Tennessee, I'm gonna hit solve for, let's just say 1,000,000 20-year term, and we'll do monthly, and I've got this all taken care of. Let's do annual because I'm not going to go into each illustration. Now, if I want to do multi-carrier, I'll click on this little guy right here. So it's a copy. Okay, so now we have two of me in the core QOL flex term. In the top right-hand corner, I'm going to click change product. And let's say, for example's sake, I want to look at, who knows, let's see. Let's go with Lincoln Financial Group. Okay. You'll see a bunch of different things here. First trick of the trade, UL, UL, UL. So those are our wheelhouses. Joint, second to die, UL, UL. Variable, those are no-nos. We can't run those. Then you'll see terms here. So they have two different versions of term. You have this term Excel, which has the possibility for non-med, and you have Life Elements, which has better conversion privileges, but has the opportunity for non-med, just not good as term Excel. I usually will go with the one that has the better conversion privileges because I want to sell that client later. And if you see two different dates, so one is last year, one is this year. Typically, if you see two of these, it's because one state has not approved the update yet, probably California, but it's a judge-free zone. But right now, what I'll do is I'll hit update client. Okay, so you'll see here it says fix this error, so I'll just click that, basically saying that there's no flat extra on me. And then what we have is me checking all the information. So standard non tobacco, date of birth, Tennessee, solve for it's $1,000,000 20-year term, and we're going to pay it annually. Um, and so we've got now two of them, QOL. We've got Lincoln. So I'm just going to copy again. I have two of me in Lincoln, change product, and let's say National Life Group. We'll pick LSW term. So another trick of the trade. National Life Group, everywhere but New York, is Life of the Southwest. So whether you're submitting an application or running quotes, anything LSW is going to be everywhere but New York. If you see the word NL, 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 that's New York. Okay, so we're going to do LSW term. Update client, and it says, hey, standard non-tobacco is not available, but standard non-tobacco is available. It's silly. So as you go through, you'll see that it's carrying over properties from the prior company. So it's always smart to check to make sure that everything is up to snuff when you're looking at these different types of products. So now we have three carriers here. Now, let's say, for example's sake, I want the exact same thing for my wife with the exact same carriers. Okay. So I have the ability here. There's three fills. I can select all in the top left-hand corner, and I can hit this one up here. Not these, but copy up here. And now I've got six of me. Good Lord. So I'm going to uncheck the original three. And now what I'm going to do is I have the second one of me. I'm going to change it to my wife's name, Danielle Resch. Okay. And you'll see it hasn't updated here yet, but I'm going to right click and hit copy answer to check clients. All three clients that are still checked are now Danielle Resch. Okay. Female, copy, and her date of birth. Right click, copy, and now everything else is the same. Again, I would do my due diligence and check on all of them. But now I can hit select all and hit calculate, and it's going to run all six at the same time. So what this is going to do is it's going to streamline my approach, help me to run several carriers at one time, and I can price it out depending on what makes the most sense for my customer. So what you'll typically find is that when you look at these, now it's arranging it by carriers, Lincoln, Lincoln, NLG, NLG. But I want to do it by initial premium. You would expect Lincoln, because they have no living benefits, to be number one. So 1289 versus the QOL flex term at 1417 or NLG at 1775. Now, when it comes to, again, I'm going to give you tidbits and nuggets to just kind of chew on. Um, National Life Group is usually the most expensive with living benefits from a cost perspective, but they streamline things and can get it out pretty quick. Okay, they can go up to 5 million in non-med potentially, but as you can see, even standard to standard against QOL, you're paying another $300 a year. So if your client is okay going through lab work and spending the extra time to have 20 years worth of savings, I'd probably say the QOL is better from that standpoint, but you have a lot of diehards in the industry who are all about NLG. We have them, they work great, whatever. But again, as you can see, there's differences in costs and there's differences when it comes to as you go through the process, where some people might fit better with Lincoln. For example's sake, if you dip, chew, snuff, cigars, things like that, you can get a standard non-tobacco as long as you admit it on the application. If you don't admit on the application and you get caught with nicotine in the urine, you're up the creek without a paddle. If you try with a different carrier and you get nicotine and then you try to go to Lincoln, they will also give you nicotine. They don't want to be your sloppy seconds. Okay. So just again, some food for thought and some ideas as you're continuing to talk to your clients. But as you can see here, you can easily illustrate multiple carriers at one time. And we did this from a term perspective first, just because it's quicker. But I'll tell you right now, you can do the same thing with the permanent insurance as well. It's just a matter of building the architecture and building the case, and then from there, moving forward with the process. So I'm going to remove these real quick. Before I move on to say a permanent quote, does anyone have any questions about anything you've seen so far?
So, Phil, just one question. Do we have to get appointed with those multiple companies if we want to run it parallelly through WinFlex,
Nope.
a term code?
No, you don't. So a lot of them come stock. So with the backing that we have through the 3Mark, we're able to get all those carriers to illustrate without having to be appointed with them. So, a good example, I've never sold a Transamerica policy, but I have the ability to illustrate all of them. Same thing with Securian. I've only sold their hybrid-based products. I haven't sold any of their IULs or term. But I have accessibility to all of these. So you can compare and contrast. So if you're competing against someone else and they're showing, for example, say, because I'm highlighted over it, Nationwide, and Nationwide is, they're illustrating it with the bells and whistles, the multipliers. I know Nationwide doesn't have that, but like some crazy stuff on it. You could say, hey, apples to apples, this is where you're at health wise, and the better indices. This is what it would be if they were apples to apples with what we're showing you. So you can double back and really kind of, punch them in the mouth with what they're doing. Um, in my instance of WinFlex on the 3Mark portal, you can also illustrate New York Life. So if you want to, kind of play around and see what the competition has on the whole life side, you can do that too with New York Life. So yes, great question. You do not have to be contracted with the carrier to illustrate the products.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
No problem. No problem. So what I'll say is that, from an illustration standpoint, there are quirks and things with every single carrier. So I'll give kind of an idea here, and as you look at these, I'll kind of show you a couple things too. So usually carriers have two different IULs. One is a protection-based IUL, and one is an accumulation-based IUL. Okay. It's typically in the wording. So as you're going through the carriers, like Allianz only has one IUL. They only focus on accumulation. F&G, also very similar. The path setter is designed for accumulation. But let's say, for example, sake, John Hancock, you see a ton of different options here. Accumulation, New York version. Accumulation, regular version. They have an early cash value rider one, which is typically used for things like premium finance. ECV stands for early cash value. The difference between these two, upfront commission spread over 6 years. So if you have an early cash value rider, it's a benefit for the client because they have access to 90-ish% of their cash value. Again, very good for premium finance. Very bad if you're looking to get all your money up front. I'm just being honest. VUL variable. Now, again, you'll see protection here. You'll see, or excuse me, accumulation here. You'll see protection right here. Okay. Life Care, this is their LTC hybrid product. We are going to have a representative from John Hancock in Chicago to talk more about this Life Care product. It's the first hybrid product on an IUL chassis. A lot of cool stuff for that. You'll see different types of term, protection term, vitality term. I typically stay away from the vitality stuff. So this is another nugget and stuff that I want to share with you. Like if I went to protection IUL with John Hancock, you'll see on the solve for tab, they got this vitality thing. Okay. And you'll see the rate is gold. Vitality is designed for those who are healthy, who want to track their food, who want to track their steps. They give you a Fitbit. You can upgrade to an Apple Watch, and you basically would log activity, going to the doctor, for an annual checkup, things like that, are all going to play into your cost. So you'll see that there are four rates: platinum, gold, silver, or bronze. And if you don't feel like having your insurance company constantly changing your cost of insurance, uncheck vitality. For those who are health junkies, love the fitness, they might like the vitality piece because it gives them extra perks for working out and just being healthier. So some people like that. I'm not a fan. I typically don't use John Hancock unless you have someone who is older. Their general value proposition is old, sick, and wealthy. So stuff like that. But they can tend to have some higher costs of insurance in certain areas. So I'm not saying they're a bad carrier. I actually put on a large case $30 million with them. But, for the grand scheme of things, they're not part of what I would consider a core carrier. They also have this thing called life track billing. So if you were doing a short pay, so like you see here, it says premium solve. And if I wanted to do that premium for, let's say, 20 years, I'll get an error if I tried to calculate this right now, because this life track billing basically is a monitor for people who are doing all pays. So if my premium is $2,000 a year, market took a dip, the life track billing will say, "Hey, Phil, you need to put in about 2,400 to right the ship and get you back where you need to be." So it doesn't work for short pays, it only works for all pays. So typically from life track billing, I would uncheck that to basically get the calculation to go through. So again, as I mentioned before, when you look at these carriers, they all have different ways to do their illustrations, little tricks of the trade. But if you run into the not issue but ability and you need to use John Hancock for whatever reason, say you have a bad rating with the client and Hancock's the only one that'll take them, just understand there's different nuances when you run the illustrations. The most important part with all of that really is to recognize, like Lincoln, you have Wealth Accelerate IUL, you have Wealth Builder IUL. Um, Yeah, good question. Any accumulation versus protection IUL is the Prudential. So Prudential, for those who don't know, takes a lot of risk. Okay, they take a lot of risk compared to a lot of carriers. They use their own underwriting manual. And in doing so, some places they don't play well in care agency compensation, but if they're the only ones taking the risk, they're the tallest, person in a field of little people. So, you have to kind of use them where necessary. But Prudential also good for well-insulated individuals. They have their own weight chart. So, and they're one of the few carriers as well that also takes non-tobacco if it's dip, chew, snuff, cigars, Chantix, things like that. But what you have here is you'll see a lot of variable. They dance very heavily in the variable space. But if you're looking on Pru, this is a current assumption universal life, so like a fixed account. This is their protection version of their IUL, so Founders Plus, and then their Momentum. If you could see the name Momentum, it is the idea to increase or accumulation base. So the Prudential Momentum IUL is that one. And then they have several different terms. So the value and the plus are the ones that they're trying to push people to for more non-medical. The only difference is plus gives better conversion privileges than value, but the term essential has the best conversion privileges. Once again, that's their older product, their older term from that standpoint. So, good question, Jay. Yeah, you had
Phil, I have one
something
more
else?
question.
Yeah,
Does Prudential have the living benefits for the
they do
term?
not. They do
Yeah.
not. So the closest you'll get to a living benefit with Prudential is a nursing care. It's a living needs benefit. And so it's 40% of your death benefit if you go into a nursing home. So they have that for the term and the perm, but it is not like your chronic critical and terminal.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. But when it comes to IUL, the momentum IUL is the accumulation one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And they have a, rider called the Benefit Access Rider, which is just like, CoreBridge's AAS rider, 2%, 4% benefit that will give you a dollar for dollar reduction for long-term care type purposes. Okay. So they have a very similar rider. A lot of the brokerage type carriers have pay for riders, but they don't have the built-in living benefit riders.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. So let's say, for example's sake, we want to do a comparison on protection-based products because, one, it's easier for me to illustrate given the time frame. Two, it's just easier to illustrate because you're not working on incomes and distributions and things like that. So let's say, for example's sake, we focus on the protection product and we'll build out the case for Phil Resch again. Let's say I'm 50 though. Standard, Tennessee. And now here, what you'll notice, I'll actually zoom in because I forgot it's harder to see. I'll zoom in here. You'll see that it's on a no solve. And a lot of people get confused by this because they're like, I want $1 million face, and I guess I have to figure out what the client has to pay. Don't don't focus on that. So you'll see the solve for, you have a drop down, and typically there's two variables. You either know the death benefit or you know how much the client wants to pay. And so in the scenario here, we know what the face amount is, so we want to solve for what the premium is. Okay, so in this scenario, I'm going to solve. The idea is I want $1 million to last my entire life. And I want $1,000 by age 121, meaning I want to pay the least amount of premium. So as I get older, the cash that builds up, eventually, as your cost of insurance go up as you get older, your cash will go down, but it's the least amount of premium I have to pay to age 121. I can pay for my entire life, or I can pay for, let's say, 20 years. But in this scenario, we'll keep it simple. I'm just going to say max, so $1 million, pay for the rest of my life. And the index strategies. So as I always say, tips, tricks, we have it on the S&P 500. I would strictly stay within the S&P, or if NASDAQ is available, something along those lines. I'm just not confident in these indices that are proprietary. But what you'll also notice below is you can actually change the illustration rates. So I could do 6, I could do 5.5. I think 6.22% with a 9.75 cap is pretty solid. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But this would be, again, building out the structure for what we have to do with other Phil Reshes with other companies. So you'll see here $1 million, solve for, and figure out what the premium is. And we're going to keep it level. You can increase it or keep it level, depending on what the client wants. But here I'll copy it. So I got two of the same. I'm going to hit change product. And again, we'll focus on carriers that have good protection base. So I'll add some living benefit carriers and non-living benefit carriers. So we'll do Lincoln. Notice I skipped Hancock. We'll do Lincoln, and you'll see the wealth preserve. So preservation. Sorry, there's this fly constantly coming around my office. Wealth preserve, and I'm going to hit update. get a whole slew of questions here like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this person? So I'll just say fix all errors and oh, this product is no longer available for new sales. So I have to go back to the well and see what they've got. Ah, excuse me, Wealth Protector. It's all in the name. So standard non-tobacco, Tennessee, all of that is fair. Solve for premium. We're trying to solve for premium, $1 million face. Everything is the same. Now you'll see here, they have a couple extra check boxes. Maintain base no lapse premium. It's fine. Sometimes I'll actually take it off. So if I am trying to do like a solve where this would be to age 95 or 90, I would uncheck this because it'll give me a higher premium because it wants me to have a longer no lapse period. I don't need to worry about this one though, so I'm going to check that. Disbursements, don't need that. Options, level, accounts. So they have it in this S&P 500 intraday perfectly fine. But you'll notice here 7.05. So if you want to keep the strategies very similar, so if I want to put CoreBridge at 6 and Lincoln at 6, so there is a bit more of a equal participation, so to speak, we could do that. Um, but I'm just going to leave it status quo for right now. Everything else will be fine. I'm going to copy again, and then I'm going to add in, let's say, North American with their protection. See it in the name, protection builder, update client. Crap, I got to change some things. So fix errors, standard non-tobacco, Tennessee, solve for premium, premium option, $1 million face, and I want to pay to age 120, and I want the $1,000 by age 120. They don't go to 121, it's just 120. Index strategy, they got in a lot of trouble with the high fidelity multi-factor. So I again just leave it on the S&P. Nothing else, level, blah, blah, blah. And let's just say, for example's sake, we'll add one more non-living benefit carrier. So we have CoreBridge with living benefits, Lincoln without, North American with living benefits, and let's just do Symetra. So Symetra, you'll see accumulator. We're not doing accumulation. We have protector. Okay. So I'm going to update this. And we have, standard non-tobacco index accounts. They have the S&P. They actually have NASDAQ for their accumulation products. Well, you'll see solve annual million cash value, age 100 or maximum. So you just have minor switches that you have to make, but it's always important to check them. So now I'm going to go up here, top left-hand corner, select all. I'm not going to hit calculate in orange. I'm going to hit calculate over here, and I'm going to calculate them all at the same time.
Yeah, before it runs, Phil, quick question. Recently, CoreBridge introduced NASDAQ, right, for accumulation products. So will they offer it for existing block of business, existing clients? Okay.
Nope. Think of anytime a carrier has to do that, they'd have to refile everything with every state. So I always tell people when it comes to adding indexes to accounts, it's like buying a new car. Now they're not going to just say, "Hey, all old cars come back in and get Apple CarPlay." You bought it for what it was worth at the time, and now they have a new product. So unfortunately, that's the
Okay.
case. Good question. I hate to be the bearer of bad news on that one. So you'll see here, all things considered, Symetra has a pretty cost-efficient protection product. No living benefits. Lincoln, once again, no living benefits as well. But you'll see the difference here, 10,000 roughly, or 10,000. You're basically paying about $1,000 more um, to have full living benefits for the same face amount, or 11,430. So it's about, let's say, 1,200. Am I doing the math right? Something like that. I don't know. So from that standpoint, or 1500, yeah, 1500 long day. So what you can see here is you can get all of these in one spot. Now, let's say, for example's sake, I didn't want to PDF all of these. I can hit send and I can save it. So let's just say test case and hit save. So it'll save these all as test case. And then I like emailing it to myself. Now, the reason why I do that is when I get into my email, I don't want to have to just send um a clunky email to them that looks like this. Okay. This looks kind of funky. So what I would do is I would say I would create a new email and say, "Hey Phil, per our conversation, here's 4 carriers. I like these for this reason and this and that. Click here to get the quotes." Because when you get there, they're all right there. And the PDF lasts usually for about 60 days, 30 or 60 days. But, that's a perk for you too, because if they try, for example's sake, after 30 days to reopen it, you got to reillustrate it, which you can just go back into WinFlex, select them all, and hit calculate again. But it protects you as well. So if they send it off to someone else, then they can't open it. So now you have protection against them trying to shop you around. So, so yeah, it just gives you a little bit more peace of mind from that standpoint too. But really, the whole idea with all this is to try and figure out the best way to approach it. So as again, you figure out your variables inside of this program, you're usually either solving for premium or solving for death benefit. So you have the other variable, then you have to figure out what to do with it. You could add 1035s to all of these. So if, for example's sake, I had a 1035, then let's say it was, 25,000. I can once again copy that to all four. And I just want to go in and double check to make sure that it did carry that through. So 25, 25. And Symmetra is usually the problem child. That came through too. So then I can recalculate all of them with the 1035 exchange money in there as well. So for those of you who do 1035 exchanges, this would be obviously important too, because that will change the equation, actuarially speaking. I wouldn't say that CoreBridge would jump over Lincoln or, Symmetra, but it should, a lot of them stay aligned within the same amount. So I think an example here is if you're comfortable with certain carriers too, to see the cost differential between a lot of them. If you find value in a certain carrier, don't change what you're doing. So, yep, Symetra, Lincoln, CoreBridge, the numbers stayed the same. It's just in a different, level. So, $1,000 difference between Symetra and CoreBridge, and just a little bit more between Symetra and North American. So, anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah, Phil. So for either term or IUL that you showed, where you can compare between different companies through WinFlex software.
Yep.
This is for the quote and for us and the clients to look at different quotes that we provide them, right? And then when it comes to the actual application, we do need to have those individual appointments where we decide to apply. Is that right?
Well, sort of. So, unless for anybody who's not in Pennsylvania, okay. So, on the back office here, so if you uh have created your login, okay, and let's say I came to you today, Rajiv, and I said, "All right, I think we should go with Symetra." I'm like, "Crap, I don't have Symetra yet." Well, you can log in to your respective organization, their Share LC code that they give you, and you can request Symetra today. And then you can go to Forms and iGo, launch forms in iGo, couple steps. iGo eApp, log in. And if I want to start a new case, let's say I want to do IUL, find available products, they're all here, including Symetra. So what would happen here is if you don't have a code yet, you do one of three things. You either put your NPN in the agent code, your social, or the word pending. And what happens is your application gets submitted with your appointment paperwork together. Some carriers won't even give you a code until you submit a piece of business. Lincoln is one of them. And so they work together at the same time. So what happens is the carriers, except for Pennsylvania, everywhere else is on-time appointments. So you can submit the paperwork for contracting the same day you submit your app. It just takes a little longer the first time because they're doing two things at once. So yes and no, like to your question from an appointment standpoint, you can do it all in the same day. It just takes a little bit longer because it's doing contracting at the same time.
Got you. So, but for the appointment for obtaining the agent code, we have to use our SureLC, and then come here and start the application. And where it says to fill in the agent code, say it as pending, and Thema would make sure to send all at once to the
Correct.
prospect.
Yeah. They filter it through to the carrier, so it goes like that. So yeah, either your national producer number, social, or pending.
Mhm.
Some will only take digits. That's why I say NPN or
Got
social.
got
Some
it.
will take pending. So, but yeah, you can actually submit business immediately, and it takes a hot second to get it fully updated, but why wait, right? Um, some carriers will ask for an agency code. Ours for National Life Group is the number 4 LG. So think of NLG, but the number 4 instead of an N. And CoreBridge is Q, as in quick 441 for the flex term products or the QOL products. So, and you guys don't have to remember that. You can text me, call me, whatever. But there's a couple carriers that have agency codes that you need to fill in. Not a big deal, but yeah, all of it is in here. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. We're close to finishing up our back office that has a similar feel. Okay, so some stuff for agency perspective. These are made up numbers, by the way. But we'll have the same thing. So WinFlex, direct link to WinFlex. We'll have the ability to submit business with iGo and all that stuff. So much like anything, it's the digital handshake behind the scenes. Getting that set up is the hardest part. But one thing that we are integrating in this, some of you have seen it before. We've been working on it from the standpoint of a digital AI assistant. We call it Jordan, and Jordan's about $150 a month. But for example's sake, I showed this earlier to someone. I said, I have a client who's 70, A1C is 6.5, normal blood pressure, height and weight, six, who should I shop this with? Good shoppable case. What I did was I fed in all the underwriting manuals from all the carriers to my digital assistant, and all of a sudden it started spitting out carriers, to look at for the very reason inside of their manuals. So it gave me some ones to look at in descending order. But before you run the informal, I need two things: data diagnosis or just pre-diabetes, product and face amount. So we're working on some additional stuff from this standpoint that you'll be able to use in your practice. It will be integratable already integratable to my emails, but integratable into your cases, your pipeline management, and it will be reading off of this stuff too. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing to help in the future. So right now we're using the 3Mark portal to do the basic stuff. But as we progress, we're kind of at the finish line with these few things. This one is actually ready to go. So if you are interested in a digital assistant to help you out, as you can see, I've got emails popping up. But on top of that, this will be ready very soon. We're in kind of a pre-launch to let some people use it to make sure we have all the kinks worked out. But more to come on this stuff as well as we continue to progress and grow. There's just a lot of stuff here that I like and will continue to share. But all I say is stick with me, and we'll get where we need to go. But any questions on that stuff? Good info? I see Angel nodding.
It's good.
Awesome.
And Phil, like before we just wrap up, where can we access all these recordings that we do the
I like where
trainings?
your head's at. So, yep. So the recordings are all on my YouTube channel. So at Valor Financial, if you just go there, you will see all of these open. As of right now, they're open to the public. Once I get this officially blessed, these will probably go behind the Iron Curtain. But as of right now, I've got tons of trainings. So if, for example's sake, you want to kind of look at the back office again and see what kind of stuff is in there, getting started with our back office. If you want to go through illustrations, we have back office running illustrations, how to illustrate a multi-carrier environment, you know. So a lot of this stuff is in here to help you guys. I've left this open for the public to use, and I've had plenty of people comment on the great content that's in here. But on the same token, I got to take care of the people who want to partner deeper in long-term relationships. So these will continue to build out. These will eventually go into what I would say is a learning management system, in here. So the learning center. So it will still be available. It'll just probably become a private YouTube channel and go from there. But if you're on the newsletter, you'll get the links and all the other stuff, or reach out to your manager, stuff like that. So one way or another, we're all connected. I'm here to support you guys any way that I can. I always say, do good for your community. Your community will do good for you. And really try and elevate the game here. So um, but yeah, Rajiv, so you can get it here. It's all free. Um, any other
Yeah, thank you.
questions? No problem. All right, guys. Well, I want to say thank you. If we don't talk, have a good weekend. We are 3 weeks away from the Chicago Summit. Would love to have you guys there. There's no ticket charges or anything like that. Again, you get there, and you pay for your room, which is like $100 a night. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So, all things annuities, all things long-term care, especially if you're in that senior market, you don't want to miss it. So, appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, and have a great weekend. And thank you guys.